Recording in progress.
Okay, please let me know when you're ready. We can start. Hi, Sudha ma'am.
Okay, Vasanthi, sir, we will start the session.
I'm sorry, we can start.
Sir, good evening, one and all present here. We are pleased to introduce Mr. Srinivas Thota, Senior Vice President, Kumaran Systems, Chennai. He heads insurance and telecom SPUs at Kumaran System, and he is also responsible for digital initiatives, strategy, and managing key accounts. Srinivas Thota has over 25 years of professional IT experience in various strategic leadership roles, working across US, Canada, and India in various business verticals. His area of expertise lies in the intersection of business and technology. Mr. Srinivas Thota has more than a decade of extensive experience assisting PNC insurance customers with consulting, technology delivery, AI and strategy, AI and data strategy, IT modernization, building MEPs, automation, business intelligence, and analytics. Mr. Srinivas Thota joined Kumaran in 2004 and has since worked in different capacities. In his previous roles, he was responsible for leading large programs and delivery of projects in US and Canada. He is also head Kumaran QA services, and he was instrumental in building QA automation framework during inception. He represented Kumaran in many international IT and insurance events, and he was also a speaker in major Canada insurance conference. Mr. Srinivas Thota holds a Master of Business Administration specialization in information system. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Ms. Senthil Selvi. Thank you so much, and it's an honor and privilege again to be associated with SRM for the AI event. Thanks for the invitation, and I look forward to have this session. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I think you need to enable my screen sharing facility, I think. Hello, madam. Looks like you need to enable. You need to give me permission.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I got it.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Hope everybody are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, there you go. Okay, very good evening all. I hope everybody are joining from India. Thanks for your time for joining today. And I think it's been a very hectic schedule at SRM for this event for last 2-3 days there. And it's a long sessions and also we're in the evening. I can understand that. But something interesting subject which we are going to look at today is the one which I'm going to touch about is AI and deep learning for autonomous vehicles. So I think many people would have seen the autonomous vehicles, the development happening across the globe. We have seen many things, especially in northern, the western part of the globe there. But I think India is also catching up a bit on that. But let us deep dive into it and look at, how things are shaping up. So today's agenda, I'm going to touch about autonomous vehicles, what they are. I mean, I hope students also available there in this forum there, just for their benefit, they just touch about a bit about it. And for any AI deep learning data are very important, like what kind of a data are involved as part of autonomous vehicles. So that's something which we're going to look at. And the role of AI in AVs. And who are the key players? I mean, just shortlisted few people there, just to get some context about it from various stakeholders in the ecosystem of AVs there. And then we'll touch about emerging AI tech for AVs there on that side, how future is shaping up there on that. So autonomous vehicles, when you're going to look at, right, like what are they, typically. So if you're going to look at the autonomous vehicles are like self-driving cars, or it can be any vehicles which are equipped with advanced sensors, cameras, AI, and algorithms to navigate, operate without human intervention. That is what it is. And these vehicles understand the environment. They can make some intelligent decisions there, and also look at how to control things, kind of a thing, when you're navigating there on that side. So overall, when you look at the autonomous vehicles, there are 5 levels of classifications that has been set up by the Society of Automotive Engineering. That is like level 0, which we see typically all vehicles where we drive, right? Fully human control there. And level 1 is something like where you would have seen even in, I think, in Indian vehicles also, where we have seen in highways where there's a lesser objects intervention, where you have something like a cruise control, where once you set it up, you can go with the constant speed there on the road, and also like where it is like you don't see any major risks there on that one. So it's just right, so that you can take off your legs from your accelerator and be free there on that side. So that's another one. The third one is about level 2. It is more about many things like steering, acceleration, control, which you see like partial automation, where it is there, and it is like both kind of a thing. It is more than what you see cruise control. It is about the features, something like I hope many people would have heard about Tesla's, because that made a lot of advancement, even though there are a few other companies that made. But Tesla has significantly made very much advancements in autonomous vehicles there on that side. So autopilot is one thing where it can help you drive, just like you drive any vehicle, kind of a thing. It can understand a lot of things there, and it is highly advanced on that side. Okay. Then there is another level like conditional automation and high automation, and also like full automation there. Right now, most of the vehicles are between 2 and 4. There are a lot of things are actually touching 4 also in specific areas, like where people can use the feature when driving their vehicles there, on that side. So what are different autonomous vehicles, different types? We talk about cars, right? Because that is what we look at, which are popular. But there are so many other types of vehicles as well, which we'll touch about. Like one is the autonomous cars, which you look at. These are basically capable for self-driving. It's an assistance, right? Where it can help you drive in the traffic and other things there. It is more of a personal transportation. And also it can be supported for ride-hailing services. Something like where you see Ubers and Olas there, where without the driver, it can pick you up and it can drop you at your destination. It is actually working now. Especially, I've not traveled recently to China or anything, other European countries, but I've been in US, and I myself were using these services. So it is something like a ghost driving you, kind of a thing, but it's a super experience what you get. Then there are autonomous trucks and buses, which are there, which is getting popular as well, like to carry the freights and logistics, and for public transportation also, because as I said, like it's getting so advanced on autonomous vehicles, where it is becoming much more safer for people to use the vehicles for public transportation as well. And in some places, we have seen airport shuttles or campus transits, like your college. It's a big campus where you want to take your students or guests coming in. They're using transits there inside. And obviously, this will save certain fuel optimization. So those are typically use cases for autonomous trucks and buses. Then we have drones. I think this is something very popular as well. We started looking at it like drones where the packages are getting delivered, and it is actually used for mostly for inspections, right? Surveillance and inspections kind of a thing, where for agriculture, if you want to see like bigger farms are there, right? Like this end to that end, like you can send the drones and you can do a surveillance about the crop or anything you want to look at. You can use it, and it can be set up a time where it can go by automatically itself, and it can gather some data for you, and it can send it back to you on that side. And also it is used for infrastructure inspections also, like buildings, fire safety, anything is there. If some leaks are there, people are using some drones there on that as well. Then autonomous agriculture vehicles, if you're going to look at, it's again, like when it is applicable for cars, buses, trains, and even trucks kind of a thing. Obviously it can be used for tractors also, so that is getting up really well there. It is basically they're using these vehicles, or it can be small vehicles as well. It need not be bigger tractors kind of a thing, where they want to monitor the livestock as well, like cattle or other livestock animals what you have. It can go through it and it can look at, and you can do a surveillance on that. Okay. Then we see other vehicles like military vehicles, which are used by the armies and other things. It is basically they use it for going for sensitive areas where it's much riskier. They use it for certain assignments there for that. And it can be used for combat support and also for search and rescues as well on that side. And wheelchairs are something very interesting thing which is coming up, where for mobility assistance, where the people who are disabled or elderly people can use it, and it can guide them on certain things. When you use the wheelchairs there, it can help them to navigate across anything on streets or anything there within the hospitals or anything there on that. Likewise, it can be used, like you can see many other vehicles like trains, ships, submarines, shuttles. There are so many other vehicles which this technology is getting applied, and people are seeing some good benefits, and also exploring various use cases that can help them out on that side. Okay, so that's about various autonomous vehicles. So next is about section is about data. Okay, so when you look at the data, AV's data, it is very, very very important, right? Like for anything like AI, if you're going to look at any other ML or deep learning, anything under AI, if you're going to look at, without the data, you don't see any results coming up. So data plays a very key role about the kind of a data, what kind of a data it is, how you're going to structure them, cluster or segregation, clean up. So many things are the prerequisites, for any models for you to apply. Your algorithms also can pick up based on the patterns, everything. So the data plays a very key role. So, which I think everybody is aware of that. So, in the AVS data, what I have listed here there are certain things here where it is basically the source, the input data, and also the output data, which you can get out of autonomous vehicles. Okay, so one is very important of autonomous vehicles are the sensor data. So there can be sensors like cameras, which are infrared and regular cameras there, and then light detection and ranging. It is basically to understand, how distance and other things and all, any obstacles are there, whether it's clear or not, kind of a thing. And radio detection and ranging, and ultrasonic sensors, and we also see inertial measurement units there. So this is something basically when you look at the vehicles, like cameras play a very important role, right? Like because that is a vision. Just like as a driver, you see it, and you need to navigate through the streets or the route what you take it. So cameras play a very important role. With that, it is like images, videos, and it is basically to understand about object detection, like any objects, like how far it is, kind of a thing. And the traffic sign recognitions. This is something which is getting improvising much more better in recent times, because it is not merely about your red, yellow, or green signals, or take left, take right, kind of a thing. It can also read about any other signs I see, like something like road repairs or lane mergers where one lane is closed for repairs. Then anything related to that, other signals also. So the signs are becoming, the recognition is getting much more deeper there on that side. Okay, and obviously lane detection. So I think when we talk about, there is two cases, right? Like lanes, yes, in India also we have, but because of the nature of transportation range what we have, right? Like where roads or the infrastructure what we have here, like you have there is nothing called like a bike lanes or two-wheeler lane, cycle lanes, even though it is there, but people, it's very difficult, because of the kind of a mix of crowd what we have in India. These lane systems are difficult to follow, uh, but I think it's improvising nevertheless. So I think it's getting better there. But if you're going to look at North American, in America and all, like if you're going to look at, I mean, there's a lane system and people have to follow that. The simple reason why is very important is because the violations of the road are tied up with their insurance. Okay, the insurance are not cheaper. Like India, it is more tied up to the vehicle, but there it is more tied up to the driver as well, because his pattern, how risky he is. So based on that, any collision he makes, also the insurance will just go up very high. They have point system there and other things there. So lane detection there. Why these autonomous vehicles are getting implemented in those areas is because within that area they know that the risk is less, and the drivers usually follow the driving rules there on that side. Just to give some clarity about it on that. Then we also have distance and velocity data, like speed estimations, and looking at the space between the vehicles, right? Like your vehicle, at what speed it is going on, and your vehicle which is in the front or at the back, like what speed they are coming in, and what if in case if someone is applying brakes or anything, like the control what you'll have, right? Basically about the speed on the roads there. So that is also very, very important on it to detect. And in the parking assistance is something really coming out really well. Even in India, I'll touch about this point later. I think recently Mahindra also has a car that can do a self parking. So that's a great step, I think, in India. Like because in parking areas, you see there is a range between two vehicles. It's stationed, nothing is moving, but you see the gap, and you can just go ahead and you can park yourself there, right? So that's very important there. So parking assistance is becoming very popular. That is I think in autonomous vehicles where the vehicles are taken more on regular roads or anything, I think testing them or using them on parkings, I think that makes a lot of sense there on that side. Okay, so that is something about the sensor data. Then we have GPS data about real time where the vehicle is, navigation, because you set up the maps and it should pick up that, and it has to drive based on that. That is there. And the detailed lane markings, traffic signs, road curvature, all these things are has been used when you're driving. Because say for example, say there is a sharp curve that comes in, right? Like what speed you need to go. There are speed limits that will be set, but usually typically it is people can go plus or 10 kilometers above the speed level. That's what usually people use it. So the curves and other things and all, how well it is. This data, the 3D thing, which I think if you can see anything on Tesla dashboards, right? Like when it's driving, you can look at it, can mimic the exactly what is there outside. You can see it in a very in a 3D way on that side. Okay, so those important. That is. Then vehicle state data, again, like speed, distance traveled, steerings. These are very important within the vehicles there. And traffic, like you look at something like traffic flows, like congestion patterns, like which areas it's usually there. Usually there is a lot of data that comes in. It knows about the kind of a roads that has to take, and usually the historical data that is available, right? Like how people are driving from these vehicles also, that data is getting shared, and the people can know how the road looks, if there is something like a roadwork ditch or anything there where people usually slow down, or there's and speed breakers. This kind of information also are passed out to the vehicle manufacturers, which they can implement it. Then this is vehicle to X communication. This is something like which will be just picking up a bit, but I think you can see this trend is going to be much more in upcoming in future, because it can connect now, because you get all this net enabled everything inside, then people can talk about it, and they can vehicles can speak, means like they can connect to the nearest any infrastructures there, you know, and there are a lot of things people have been working on it. So this is very interesting thing as part of the emerging trend as well on that side. Okay. So this is again like the data what we are talking about is all about the outside world, right? Like what you see out of the vehicle. But this driver monitoring data is something like internally, right? Like I think when all this AML has started coming, I think 2018-19, people were talking about the behavior, right? Like vehicle, the driving behaviors, how speed or how hard they hit the brakes, or how they are taking the curves. All these things are something which people take it up, and they look at it. And this is something like on a driver monitoring data where people can look at it can understand typically how, what kind of a thing. And it can take sometimes the control as well as part of the vehicle there. I think one of the best use case when something came up where many people, were looking at people drunk and drive, when something, when it can understand the level, people, it will not allow the driver to even start the vehicle, so it cannot move the vehicle kind of a thing earlier, in the earlier days, but now it is becoming much more implemented features kind of thing that gets in there. Okay. The other thing is about training data, because now there's a lot of data available. You have synthetic environments. You want to create synthetic data, like you want to create the data sets related to that. Those data also will help looking at not the only data what they have, but also the other data that's available, which can be shared or which is available for people to get trained kind of thing. Okay. Then there is also something about edge case data, like extreme weather, something comes up like tornado or floods, right? Or you have extreme rains kind of a thing, or some other kind of a data. This is also something where people are able to capture it, and they want to add as part of the data there, linked with external data, looking at the pattern and other things there on the side. The other one is about audio data, because when you go vehicle, assume that you're getting an ambulance right behind you. So as by default, the rule is that you need to give the way for them, right? So the noise also makes a lot of difference about like the sirens there. Horns are something not like people usually honk, kind of a thing, frustration honks or traffic jam honks kind of a thing. That's different, but sirens are very important to know, because when something like emergency vehicles are moving, right? I think you should your vehicle should be so sensitive enough to understand it, and it should make sure that it follows the safety, and also allows the other vehicles to take the journey, I think, without any hindrance there on that side. Okay, so that's very important. Then the annotations, metadata, as I said, like it's all about you maintain it, you maintain labels, trainings. This is something very important there when you segregate it. And historical data, that's also something like the patterns, right? It is very important for fine tuning it, depending on the driver and their style or other things also. It is not only the vehicle data, it is also the driver's data, and other things also will make a lot of difference there. And the vehicle conditions as well, that's also very important about it, for the tires when they change, because now you can record this data and all, right? Like the service history, what has changed, and other things also. So these data also play a very important role when you are in autonomous vehicle. Okay. So the next thing is about the role of AI in AVs, right? Like how autonomous means it just can't do, because AI is all about mimicking, right? It is basically you're bringing an intelligence to anything which is a repetitive action or something, right? Where you make it in place of you, it will mimic. That's what it is typically. I'm putting in a simple terminology here on that side. So the role of AI in autonomous vehicles, if we're going to look at, first thing is about what you see is perception, right? How the perception is, like perception is, it is mostly typically to understand the environment related to any vehicle. Like environment, when you talk about, we touched about certain things about when a vehicle is there in the surroundings. That's very important for it to move, to understand, and then digest that and accordingly react, kind of a thing. So for that, where you see deep learning models are CNNs for camera images to recognize objects what you use. And it is also like you look only once, kind of a thing, and based on that you take action there on that side. It's not like you keep looking, it doesn't work that way when vehicles work. So those are real-time object detections there on that side. And also it can read dynamic signs like digital speed limit boards using temporal reasoning, a new capability improve adaptive driving. Means like, okay, dashboards are there, but nowadays you can see the digital signboards as well, right? When you travel something, it says that estimated time or that the speed that is required. Now you should be able to capture that kind of an information as well. So computer vision plays a very major role. That's a very prime there on that side. So these are the DL models what are getting used. Then sensor fusion, that is something like it is like it's all combination, which we touched about in the previous slides about it. Like it understands or it can take that and it can utilize the model can use that kind of a data for doing it. Okay. The other one is about the prediction, right? Like anticipating movements. Like it is something like when you go in a vehicle and the driver's mind is something very important, correct? So I think many people know who are driving vehicles. They know like how the driver typically reacts, or the pattern of a driver, correct? When people are driving, either in, it can be two-wheeler, it can be three-wheelers or something very dangerous there, like right and left signals there on that side. Cars, for example, say people use indicators, they follow, kind of a thing. So it is about understanding the pattern, right? And if there is any space available, whether people can sneak in or they can try to fit in there, the gap between two vehicles. So all these are something very important to understand about the behavior about it, like how it works, kind of a thing there. Okay, that's what it is. And the next is about decision making, right? So it has to make super fast decisions, right? Split second decisions, just like as a human, you want to apply brake, like suddenly something happens, how it is, kind of a thing. So there are various algorithms available where you can see, like, in the complex situations, it can use reinforcement learning as well. It can keep learning, it can improvise itself from the learnings, kind of a thing, depending on it can be based on the routes also, like where people take from their home to office, for example, say a pattern, right? It can understand the route, and it can also learn by itself, kind of thing. So that's something there on that side. So decision making is something very, very important. It can understand about using the conditions and accordingly fine tune, and also better decisions there on that side. The other one is about control systems. It is about having the decision is made, right? Like now you need to make an action right now, right? You need to execute what you're thinking, kind of a thing. So that is all about basically how you are thinking and how you are applying, right? So that is what this one is. And for this, they use again reinforcement learning. That is very, very important there for everything on that side. They use it on that side. Then localization and mapping. So it is critical in determining vehicle's position within a map, right? Where you are, kind of a thing in GPS. And it is like SLAM. I think people would have heard about it. It's a simultaneous localization mapping, okay, that allows vehicles to build where they're going in, where they can, it is useful for them on the tracking side. Okay. They also use visual odometry, okay, tracking changes in images over time to complement GPS for a highly accurate position. Certain things do change, right? Like then if something happens where an event, certain things are not available, right? Something you have seen earlier, it's not there. So it has to keep updating, kind of a thing, on that side. So that is also very AI uses that, for better commuting there on that side. And natural language processing for human interaction. It can, based on the voice you talk about it, Alexa and all are a long time. But again, still it is, why we are using it is basically people can connect with that kind of terms. That's what it is. Okay. And where you see like, for example, say Tesla, they relies heavily on vision-based AI, neural dojo for continuous learning and the real world there. And also you can see these are different companies, Waymo, Tesla, Baidu's is from China, I think. Okay. So they all use this models there on that side. Okay. So overall, if you're going to look at like what are the different categories which we touched about, I touched about few, but there are other things as well here, like path planning, okay, and data generation or multimodal fusion, like what it is and what kind of an algorithms AI uses. Typically people use it for the objectives, that the purpose what you see, like whatever we spoke about it, right? I don't want to repeat much, so just want to put up a slide here just to summarize like what we are looking at it. Okay. So going ahead, so in AVs, who are the different stakeholders or key players, right? Means again, this list is not, I mean, I just looking at it, just thought like some relevant companies is which I have collated here. And it is something like who are in a different segments. So if you're going to look at the companies, manufacturing companies, right? Manufacturing autonomous vehicles, like especially the passenger cars, when you look at it. Okay. So you can see like Tesla, Waymo, and General Motors. Okay. These are some companies which they use, and what kind of a features they're using it. Okay. So Waymo, if you're going to look at, is a subsidiary of an Alphabet, which is an parent company of Google. Okay. And they already started using it for ride shares without a driver there, on that side. Okay. So that's there. And delivery robots, which we have seen, like are drones, right? We saw different types of vehicles, correct? So the drones there. So it's all about you have companies like Starship Technologies, which is building up robots for urban environments, and Zipline for medical and commercial deliveries there. I think we have seen certain drones also. I think people would have seen, but it is mostly the man control. I think there's somewhere, I think recently, the floods were there in one of the state in India. I think it's in Uttarakhand, I think, if I'm not wrong. So there was a landslide, big landslide. There's a disconnect between two places, right? Like one side of it and the other side of it. Now there is totally a cutoff of the transportation. So how do you transport the goods there from one end to another end? So drones are getting used there, but typically it is used for terrains, also something very difficult. They use it on setting up and delivering them. It need not be something like you have to monitor. You set like GPS position, you set and deliver. It goes, delivers, and it can come back, kind of a thing there on that side. Okay, so that is there. Then what is the different companies that are developing software for autonomous vehicles? So these are certain, again, it is nothing, I just put up some samples just for you folks to understand about what kind of companies are involved, especially focusing on autonomous vehicles there, like what they're focusing on, what they're building. Okay, so we can look at it like NVIDIA. If you look at the NVIDIA, it is actually becoming very popular. I think many people would have seen this one is picking up really good. The reason is earlier we have seen Intel Pentium and other things, like processors and other thing, platforms for to operate. So the hardware that is required for that is for personal computing or enterprise computing, based on the load. But NVIDIA is a company where their core strength was to build an highly performing hardware chips for them, especially for gaming. Okay, gaming video where it consumes more and it has to have an super processors there on that side. So NVIDIA had an edge when AI came in, where now you see like a lot of models you want to develop, you want to customize, you want to build, whatever you wanted to do, you need to have an high GPUs. And because NVIDIA is having that kind of an edge already in the industry, their shares has gone, multifolds there, and it's very popular right now, NVIDIA there on that side. So these are a few companies there which are building some softwares. Then again, like on hardware and sensors, we see some certain companies which are already there. I think Luminar Technologies are very famous for some time there on that, on LiDAR sensors there. And as I mentioned, like in computing chips, NVIDIA is having an edge, and it has a bigger market, or it has an super edge for AI-related infrastructure when it is required there on that side. And other people are catching up, because just like people have to catch up, Intel, AMD, these are catching up, but their primary market or their sector was more personal computing and enterprise computing there, on that side. And so AI models, like which are the tools, like I mean, again, like OpenAI, Scale AI, Cognita, and I don't know how many people know about it. Like on a tech world, if you're going to look at on certain areas, Israel has and super technology companies. Their startups are really good. Their innovation is slightly, and they have a very advanced areas about the thought process or the kind of an solutions what they bring to the table there on that side. So these are a few companies. I mean, again, like AI models, now we see many people are doing it. These are certain areas which I used at GPT, so I think OpenAI is the one that came up here as part of the recommendation there. Okay. So on the cloud, because now the storage, the real-time processing, all these things comes up. So obviously, the top cloud hosting companies, they have an edge there on that side, which we can look at. And the companies involved in autonomous ecosystem, like V2X communication. So as I said, like now it is something like which is already there, right? Like in autonomous vehicles, you have the technology, everything there, but the future is going to be something where the infrastructure is all there. It can talk, it can connect with the next driver in the area, or it can connect with nearby entities there on that side when you go ahead, kind of a thing. It is going to be an super interesting features, I think, once we have this V2X communication. It need not be a self-driving kind of a thing, but looks like this feature will be enabled in many of the vehicles, because people will have a better I think it's a good experience. I think people have to take it. I think, that's what. So we can't leave India, right? Like India is also, we're talking about all US, China's and other things and all, but in India also, interestingly, there are some good areas. A few companies are focusing on certain things there, and they're looking at building certain bringing some intelligence in the vehicles there. You can look at it, and some data can be here a slightly a bit old one, but nevertheless, I think I just want to I have put this slide to basically to tell that in India also, typically, there's a lot of innovation happening around it, and the people are utilizing the technology of this in our Indian market as well. But what are the challenges in India? What we have, like as I said, like it is nothing, no offense or anything here. It is basically people know about it, like roads and other things. Like uh, I think some cities are super clean, they are really well maintained, but most of the places still, I think, even in urban and rural areas as well, I think we have potholes, uneven services. In Chennai, when many people are there, I think that's very common after rainy season, or even the speed breakers are not a standard speed breakers kind of a thing. Certain speed breakers, your cars, it gets affected, on that side. And shock absorbers for two-wheelers, that's a thing. I mean, just to tell that the road infrastructure, the standards are something what we look at it. It is something like the standards, when well maintained, I think you see better results. That's what it means. Then the traffic complexity, as we say, it is not like just an car, two-wheeler or bus or trucks kind of a thing that's available on our roads, because that is how typically our system is, right? You see pedestrians there walking, rickshaws, animals also on the road. There are so many accidents that happens on the cattle, right? In India, where we see. So how do you control them, and how to implement this autonomous vehicles on roads? When you have this challenge, that's a thing. Okay. And the regulatory point of view, like how it is, how to implement legal framework on that one. Like there are other policies also, like regulatory, that's coming up in other part of the world, where when there's no driver, whom do you sue with, right? Like if some accident happens, who do you find hold accountable? Is it the manufacturing company of the vehicle, or who, kind of a thing? So there are some regulations coming up, and India, I think once we are there, once we have more vehicles, I think we can see the framework coming up about it. And definitely the cost sensitivity, because we see it's all equipped with sensors, cameras, whatnot, like in autonomous vehicles. Like so much of infra is required, the hardware and other things, and also the cost. But we are a country where we have sent even the spaceships to Mars within the budget of a movie, I think. So I think the cost should not be a matter for India. Once we have a proper use case and utilization of it, I think that can be something, I think, which I think we can easily overcome, I think, in India side of it. Okay. So the global challenge is what you see, right? From an overall perspective, that's about the India then. But here, it is something where you see already we have seen certain things where people are using autonomous vehicles. So what kind of a thing? So other things like technology, safety, it's all common. But if you're going to look at the cybersecurity risk, or something very important, because now the data, everything, because it becomes a mission, correct? Like we are seeing so much of cyber attacks. Even in enterprises also, it's very difficult, right? Like to protect the data, to protect the personal information of the people, or health records, or anything, the characteristics, right? Like demographic information about the people, or anything that's very sensitive there. But now, because these cars are I'm just taking a car just for simplicity of knowing the autonomous vehicle there. So these are becoming more like a machines where it stores, right? It understands your behavior and other things. So what happens if someone hacks it, or when you have an attacks coming up, kind of a thing? So that risk is going up. I think manufacturers and other vendors, like who are bringing in certain things as part of an add-ons to your vehicles, correct? I think they also keep an eye about it, and they keep a track about the cyber security aspects about it. Okay. Then definitely there should be a compliance, right? Like what are the different country has its own compliance, kind of a thing, like whether it is from a government point of view, ethical concerns also as part of it there. So it's just a summary here, like for example, say how safety it is to operate a AV in real world conditions, right? For us right now in India, if you're going to look at driving in highways, certain highways where you don't see any other vehicles there, it is super wide roads, it's a risks of the other vehicles coming in colliding is less there. I think people can get certified there on that side, and definitely I think on the parking lots when it is not congested on street parkings either in malls or anything. I think it can be used. I think open malls are there where vehicle you just drop it, because now I think most of the malls also look at they have a sensor whether there is a slot available. You can see the green lights or red lights available on the overheads of the car parking in the malls. It says that there's a parking available, right? So definitely those things are something I think it can be done. But again, it's an incremental process, and each and every step what they bring in, it makes sure that the AVs will be operating safely there. Okay, and we touched about cyber security and the data privacy is something which are there. GDPR is something from a European point of view that is very mandatory there on that side. And liability and insurance, again, like who is involving in the accidents, like whom do you hold them responsibility, who is liable to pay for the damages. Those are some things, right? Because the driver, you have comprehensive insurance coverages there, but when a driver is not there, like who is going to take that? That's something people are working on the complaints there. Then testing and reporting, because anything like people on the collision or anything, they see an abnormal things happening, that has to be reported. Only then people can understand, I think, typically to look at what these are. And recently I saw one of the news, I think 2-3 days back, where the Mahindra vehicle, I think in Bangalore or somewhere on the highway, it got into a collision, a small collision, in the front and the bumper, I think, where a couple of sensor things got damaged, but the car was not able to start, after those sensors got affected there. Even the small thing, it can be a mandatory information of the data that is required for it to self-drive, but it did not even start, and people have to come in, mechanics, but then I think they have to tow and go, I think, things like that. But these are certain things where it has to be reported, and people can look at it from the wide thing, because many manufacturers look at it, right? The data can be shared, they can look at it from that side, and they can make a lot of improvements, I think, on that side. That's very important there on that side. And before we go into emerging AI trends in AVs, I just want to show a couple of share some couple of videos for the just for people to understand AVs, right? Like how it is, kind of a thing. I hope you guys are okay with that. And let me share. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, so just give me a minute. Let me share it again. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, you're able to see my screen, please. Share it down. Okay, let me share. This is an automatic lane change, using autopilot feature. Just a quick thing how it looks. So what you're seeing here is an Tesla dashboard. Okay, you can see the map, realistic thing, and you can see the vehicle that is driving right now. This is what is the vehicle is, and this is what I said, like 3D thing, right? The objects here. So you see there's another vehicle that's following in the next lane there. Then there can be another vehicle. I think this is what is represented here. So let's get in.
And my favorite piece of tech is the automatic lane change in the Tesla Model 3. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to engage the autopilot. So you'll see there that there's blue lines either side of our car, and you can see it's adhering to the 70 kilometers an hour speed limit. We're just coming up to some lights, so hopefully they'll be red. and you'll see the Tesla slow down for red. No, they're actually green. You can see it's tracking perfectly in lane, which is pretty awesome. Now we want this blue car to move ahead a little bit faster so that we can do an automatic lane change. So let's do that now. Let's indicate. Maria's just holding this steering wheel for legal reasons, and you can see there, it changes lanes straight away. Look at that, perfectly done. You can see the camera coming into view there just prior, and we're going to do a lane change back. So all we do is we indicate back. This is all the Tesla doing the work. See the car moving across to the other lane. We're green again, so we're going to go through here. And that's such a cool feature, isn't it? That's the automatic.
So what you looked at here is slightly where he's controlling it, right? But the latest vehicle, Tesla, you just set up where you want to go to the destination, right? In autopilot, you just add that and remove your hands, right? Here, there's slightly an old one where you see like they just put an indicator, but it can understand, it can see the lane and it is able to move to the lane, right? After the vehicle goes in, kind of a thing. With so accuracy, it can slow down and it can go. But the latest Tesla, you know, what it is in autopilot, you don't require to do anything with your hands there, you know, you just drive, it will take care about everything. So that's the kind of an advancement that has come. Okay, that is one thing which I want to show. And this is something like where it is an auto park feature.
Parked itself recently using vision only in the latest update that brings actual smart summon and actual auto park, as some would call it. These are features that Tesla advertised for years, and it's nice to finally see them in action. In this case, a Tesla owner whipped out his camera and showed his car driving around a parking lot with a rendering of the surroundings. He was able to select a parking spot on the screen to park and then click a start button to begin the auto park. After choosing the parking spot, the car pulled forward beyond the spot. A path to park in the parking spot was then revealed. The car reversed backward and began to enter the parking, with the center console screen showing a visual of the car entering a blue rectangle, which was outlined for the parking spot. Smooth and easy. The parking job was smooth and easy, and the car reversed into the parking spot with.
So in this video, if you're going to look at, you know, there's an parking, you can see the imagery here, right? Like where vehicles are there, kind of a thing. So in this video, if you look at, he picked up a spot and you can see the car made and reversed by itself, and it parked by itself, you know, that's what has happened there on that side. So this is an again a super cool feature, but again, as I mentioned, the latest Tesla, you don't require to pick or anything, it can pick and it can park a vehicle for you there on that side. Okay, and this is an summon feature. This is a very interesting feature.
Making
there.
my Tesla come to me with Tesla's new actually
this is an
smart
summon
feature.
Okay.
Tesla finally released their vision-based smart summon, and it has a pretty crazy acronym. I tested this in an empty parking lot just to be safe, but I will be testing this in a busy parking lot later. To activate actually smart summon in the Tesla app, all you have to do is hold down come to me, and the car will literally start driving over to you. Now keep in mind that this is one of the earliest versions of actually smart summon, so it's not going to be as fast as it could be in the future, but it's still very accurate, and as you can see, it's mapping out an entire path for me. The one thing I've noticed about actually smart summon compared to the old smart summon that used ultrasonic sensors is that this does not go over parking spots like the old version did. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with how accurate this is, especially because it's vision based. And the coolest part about this is that after the summon is complete, it actually plays a completion noise just like this. Making my Tesla come to me with.
So here, if you can, this is a summon feature which I wanted to show you guys, like where the car is actually automatically coming from the parking lot. You know, they have a feature where you click and it is able to it knows like where you are, right? From the parking, it can take its way and it can come to you. Just 1 minute, let me show you. See, you can see the navigation, it can understand like where it has to come and it can come, you know, just like I think many people here would have seen any Mission Impossible or James Bond movies where you click a couple of things, you know, car comes for you and, you know, usually typically the heroes escape in that, right, in action scenes. So that's what is the feature here. Again, this is all coming to reality. Okay. And this is our Mahindra car parking, which I wanted to show you guys also. It is something like where our Indian car right now, as I said, it is able to
So
do
all
an
you do is
automatic
come into
parking here.
parking.
See.
You have to be in park mode. You select where you want to park, which angle you want to park. Like right now, I'll pull the marker out here that I want to park here. Then you have to confirm and you have to say start parking and I'll let go. And as you can see, I'm doing nothing and the car is reversing into the thing. It's doing its own steering movements. It's trying to get into that same slot in the same way that I wanted it to be. And you can see there's a railing out there. It's doing itself. And it should reverse a bit. And there you go. Parking complete. Isn't that incredible? The auto parking of the...
Okay, there you go. So the parking, right, you would have seen the car, you're able to, you know, I mean, it is something like where people are using the feature, and it is super cool right now on that side. So that's the thing. Hope you guys liked it, and I think many people have seen this video, but I just want to share it in this group here. Okay. So coming to the next section is about, the important section is about emerging AI trends in AVs, right? Like where we are heading, what AI, see, deep learning, everything is part of AI. It's a subsets, correct? It's a different things there on that side. So I'm talking from a broader perspective here on that side. So what you look at here, it's a vision-based AI advancements. We see vision is very key, right? So what is the advancements that's going here? Like, what are the emerging technologies? Like transformer-based models, like vision transformers. So it is more about large-scale visual data with self-attention mechanism. So what you see, the vision perspective, you know, it's getting improvised. The kind of an the coverage what it can see. Okay. And it is something like they are improvising there on that side, and it should be much more efficient enough to understand it, you know. So that's where. So where is this application? It's going to come in object detection, traffic signal recognitions, and landmark detection real time. That is what will happen. Then the other one is multimodal AI models. Multiple sensors, like all together, how to integrate the data from different sources and come to a better perspective there, you know, on that side. So it is something like critical data inputs, sensor fusion. When you say fusion, it's more than one, correct? Okay. To improve the situation awareness. So it is between different things, like how this can be combined and how it can be used, kind of a thing. And also that combined vision, audio, text for better decision making. You know, that is something. What is the data that's going to come up and how you're going to use it? You know, that's the thing there. Then self-supervised and semi-supervised learning. Okay, there are certain things like contrastive learning by similar and dissimilar data points without supervision, like segregation there on that side. And generative models like GPT for generating the synthetic training data, because synthetic training data, because people suffer or they have challenge, let me put for a better term, like challenges, right? Like how do you train and test the data? Like how do you mimic a data and how you want to do it? So right now there's a lot of technology advancements happening where you can create synthetic data, you know, based on the pattern, and it can generate any number of records. I think on a set definition, it can create and it can come. Okay, and also like edge cases, scenarios with a limited I mean, these are occasional thing, but again, it is very important for them to understand that, you know, a case can happen. That's why it says that adapt to new scenarios with minimal training data, because it can be one of odd cases where but that is also very key for us, you know, to learn, kind of a thing there on that side. Then reinforcement learning, this is something, nevertheless, it is something which is very much required for us to improvise, kind of a thing. Okay. it needs to improvise based on the data and other things there, and take for autonomous, it can help in making decisions also on that side. Okay, so dynamic route optimization, say if you want to go, but based on the GPS and other things, now it can understand if there is a condition there, it can recommend, and automatically your vehicle should move its path, right? It has to go kind of a thing, and on that direction there. So that is something which is happening. Then generative models and simulation tools, like weather, accidents, this kind of a data, how you're going to train the models, based on the realistic data, how you're going to do it. And for that, synthetic simulation platforms are available from different companies there. I think people are using it. And what is the cost effective testing and training, right? Like virtual testings, or you want to do physical testings, or you want to mimic a real-time conditions on that one. So how do you create that kind of an environment for vehicles to go through? That's something which people are investing on that. Then AGI and neuromorphic computing. AGI is lightweight models with real-time processing. That's what people are concentrating on. And neuromorphic, I think it'll take some time, but again, like it's mimicking human brain functionality, right? On how you mimic, how you see, how you decide, kind of thing. That's what people use it. And again, all these are something from to make a decision and how you want to apply, right? That's what it is. Then autonomous swarm intelligence, collaboration and coordinating among multiple AVs. This is again like we have seen V2X kind of a thing, where people see and it can understand, and it can coordinate with other AVs there. It can acknowledge and other things there on that side. So it is basically to make it much more efficient. That's what is happening there. So real-time 3D mapping and localization. So we have seen the 3D imagery, right, in Tesla and other things, now where you can see it. In fact, if you see there, it can also show the signal lights also when you are near the signal. It can show the lights. It can show it on your dashboard as well on that side. Okay, so it is basically about location and what, and the surrounding environments, that localization kind of thing, right? I think that data goes up very, very well. If you are within that area, that local data points plays a major role for these vehicles to pick up. That's it. Then ethical and explainable AI, because when people are asking and like for example, say like you have you travel, right, and there is a pedestrian wants to cross. Okay, typically what happens is we don't stop because our our pattern is like that. But in certain countries, they have to give a priority for the pedestrian. They have to allow them. If someone is crossing, you just need to stay, allow them to cross, kind of thing. So these kind of an moral decision making, right? Whether I need to go, or I need to bang him, or I need to wait, right? So those decisions also something people are adding up to that. And as I said, like earlier, we touched about a point about these ambulances and emergency vehicles, right? Which is required. How do you identify them, and how do you make a moral decision about it? It is not like something, I don't want to give my way for this guy, kind of thing. You can't be like that. Okay, someone is honking behind you. It can be any scenario. It can be something people are rushing to catch a flight or a train on time. They're running late because of various reasons. It can be anything. But how do you take up a decision whether you want to stay in front of them and not allowing them to do? This all are something like moral decision makings, right? Like as a human, what do you think, right? Like how do you do? Is there any threshold level you want to keep it, and how you want to decide? So those things also make these vehicles, very important there. And it is also basically to build a trust also, like, okay, these vehicles, it can understand. It is not like many people also doesn't want to follow something like a root features kind of a thing, right? It has to be something human in it. People should like the features. They should, okay, super, even if I'm making a fault also, my vehicle is not allowing me to make a fault, correct? Okay, something like that on that side. Okay, so this is very important there. So this is growing. And natural language processing for voice interaction. There's a lot of assistance coming up. You talk and you set certain things. It is already there, but again, right, it is basically where you get the notifications as well, where you can see one of the point is about AI generated real-time updates for passengers about road conditions or emergencies, correct? It can say, it can warn, and you're enabled with voice kind of a thing. And it is just like your a friend sitting, right, and telling you, hey, don't go, just slow down, there is something there, let's take a different route kind of a thing. And how do you take it? So that kind of an intuitive communication is something very which has become very popular there on that side. Okay. Then other one is about federated learning. So this is something like federated. When you look at, that's all about multiple things, correct? And from other vehicles and other things, it's a deep information that goes across, and how you want to share it, and how you want to leverage that kind of information. That is what you look at there. Then V2X, vehicle to everything. We talked about it a bit on this. As I say, like this will be something, the super feature on upcoming AVs, and many people would like to launch it. And AI plays a very key role on this one, on these models here on this. Then advanced path planning and control. The distance, like trajectories, other things there on that side, basically the turns, how curve it has to go in based on the projections what you have, and the speed and other things and all, right? Like that is something, it is getting improvised, right? Like depending on the new terrains where people go, or how they drive various time zones, or I mean, what I'm saying is time patterns, like during traffic time, peak hours or non-peak hours, or late night or night kind of a thing, where you need that extra light, or in the surroundings where it is, how safely it has to go kind of thing. So it's all getting improvised there. Then again, like cyber security, that is something that is a threat, or people have to be working on it, because that is very, very important, right? Like the data, right? Your data, everything. And nobody should hack, or someone take the control of your vehicle. We think that our vehicle is super smart, it is driving, but it need not be someone else is taking the control and they're driving for us kind of a thing, which can happen. Definitely, I think we need to have a better control access to the vehicles or the system, because it's again an advanced machine that's sitting inside your car, and you want to give some authorized access for the people who are real authorized users for the car, right? Like where you can trust and you can use it kind of a thing, that is what it is. Then multi-agent decision making. So other vehicles. So if you're going to look at respond to actions of other vehicles in the traffic, like as I said, like how in the traffic, based on that, how you want to make a decision, right? So those are something where someone is putting up an indicator in front of you, very close indicator. Usually they have to allow us to go, and then they have to take the lane, but they want to go, and you want to make a decision to allow them kind of a thing. Okay. And there is always a right of way, right, on the signals, on yellow lights. If you're going to look at, there's always a right of way for people who are on the signal path. Okay. But many of the cases where you see people on yellow, you see the other side of the vehicles start coming up. Okay. So it's all about the patterns and how do you want to respond to other vehicles kind of thing. I mean, there is something like the decision, even when we drive also, we can't be superhumans, right? Where we apply brake or save, or we get into collision when someone's fault is there. Taking left turns, or watch when you take right turns, whether other vehicles are coming in all directions kind of thing. So these are certain things which are getting improvised for making better decision making. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the session here. And we touched about overall about autonomous vehicles, and how AI is the brain, or it's just like without that, autonomous is not possible, right? As simple as that. But what are the different models, and what kind of things are getting applied, because that becomes a super heavy system right now. Okay. that is for making sure for an safely driven, right, on the using these vehicles. So there is so much of deep learning models or technologies, are used to ensure that there's safety, because vehicles is always in collision, accidents. We need to save life and other things and all that. So I think people can understand that how important it is to have the models right, and how the learnings help them in applying it to make the future of driving safer for everyone, and also enjoyable, while driving on that one. With saying that, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity here, and yeah, thanks for your time, and I hope this session is kind of informative for you guys, and there are some little takeaways from this session there. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Participants, do you have any doubts? You can ask. Participants, Rashmi ma'am. Rashmi ma'am. Participants, do you have any doubt? Kindly post your questions chat box, or else you can ask directly. Dear participants,
Madam, you can collect the questions if anything is there, and I think I can get back. I think, okay, whatever best I can do, let me do it.
Sure,
Okay,
sir.
okay.
Sure, sir. Ma'am, shall we wind up the meeting, ma'am?
The what up next?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our resource person, sir, for sparing valuable time and sharing your profound knowledge and expertise with us during today's session on AI and deep learning for autonomous vehicles. Sir, your insights into real-world application of deep learning in autonomous vehicles were truly enlightening and have broadened our understanding of this transformative technology. The practical examples and in-depth explanation provided were not only engaging but also highly beneficial for all the participants. We deeply appreciate the effort you have taken to deliver such a comprehensive and well-structured session. Your expertise in the field has truly inspired us to explore new dimensions in AI and its potential in revolutionizing industries. Thank you once again, sir, for your invaluable contribution to the success for this faculty development program. We look forward to staying connected and learning more from you in the future, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you
madam.
so much, sir. Accept our invitation and sir, you share your valuable time to be with us, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem, madam. Thank you so much for the opportunity given, and have a wonderful night. Good night. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Dear participants, thank you for your active participation. And today we are having two more experts, Dr. V.D. Kumar, Associate Professor from Mizoram University, and Dr. U.S.N. Raju, Associate Professor from NIT Warangal. Then we will meet 6 p.m. tomorrow for day 5 of this FTP program. Then the feedback for session 8 is shared in the chat box. All are requested to submit it before leaving the meeting. Thank you all.